this week on the Bubble Chat.
You see, you're right. You see that, right?
Mhm.
Like even you can even say like Jay-Z and Lil Wayne, who was the king of rap. Well, at first it was Jay-Z, but then it was Lil Wayne, but it was Lil Wayne first, and then it was Jay-Z. Still a conversation to be had.
I've never watched The View, but I know that a lot of them are a little bit controversial, mostly Whoopi Goldberg. And I think that there should be some topics that should just be kept off the docket because they don't know how to,
It's the exact same situation. When I hear these stories back to back, I can't help but ask the same question over and over. Where the fuck were the teachers? Where was the principal? Was this noticed and just completely ignored, or was it overlooked altogether?
I don't study one thing, I study all things. New things, classic things, traditional things, trailblazing things. Watching people like Richard Pryor, who is a comedian that they made an actor, and studying someone like Taraji P. Henson, who studied acting and theater, but who is just genuinely funny.
Demi Lovato had this song called 29 where she basically is like saying in the song, I'm the age now where I'm your age. And she's talking to her, her abuser, because, she dated, I think it's Wilmer Valderrama, some guy. He was a child actor. And, their relationship was kept under wraps, obviously, because she was a minor. And to hear that they went through this is not surprising because we had the whole Nick at Night, Quiet on Set, documentary about, them saying horrible things about Rob Schneider. And it's like the Disney girls have a rep. They're not all, sunshine and rainbows. Half of them are strong out and doing things that they had no business doing while promoting a promise ring.
Top of the morning, good afternoon, evening, and or night. You have officially found your way into the luckiest corner of the internet. Now, whether you are currently decked out head to toe in emerald, or just hope no one notices that you forgot to wear green today, or can't nobody see your thong, we're glad that you have decided to spend your time with us on St. Patty's Day. Grab a seat, get a drink, settle in, and let's get this motherfucking celebration started.
There's something about this time of year that just feels a bit more vibrant, isn't there? Beyond the shamrocks and the sudden urge to find a pot of gold, it's a season that reminds us to appreciate the little bits of magic in our everyday lives. That's exactly what we're leading into today. We're channeling that festive energy into every topic we touch. Because honestly, we could all use a little bit more luck of the Irish in our week.
And of course, if you're new around here, welcome to the bubble. This is the place where we dive deep, talk honestly, and keep things as authentic as a hand-knit wool sweater. Think of an episode as your digital four-leaf over, rare, and a little bit special, and hopefully exactly what you needed to hear today. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so I hope you're ready for a journey that's more rewarding than a chest of gold at the end of the rainbow.
We aren't just here to talk about the legends, though. We're here to create some of our own. Today's conversation is all about finding that spark of inspiration and making sure we don't just wait for luck to happen, but actually go out and create it. It's going to be fun, slightly chaotic, and totally heartfelt right. So don't go anywhere just yet.
So let's just kick things off, shake off the winter blues. Let's keep that festive high spirit. Let's dive straight into the heart of the matter. You are listening to the Bubble Chat, and trust me, the tea we about to spill is piping motherfucking hot. Let's get into it. Like the great queen used to say, Wendy Williams in her purple chair, how you doing?
How you doing?
How you doing?
Mm-hmm. So check this out. I came across this piece recently about Bill Clinton's new memoir, Citizen. And it includes this really striking deal about a conversation he had with the Orange. Yes, and I'm talking about Donald J. Trump. Apparently, even though they've spent years on opposite sides of the political spectrum, Clinton notes that in all their interaction, Trump never once asked him how he actually managed the job of being president. It's pretty fascinating to look at the different ways people approach leadership and advice, especially when you consider they are once on a much familiar term, swapping golf course stories, chatting social events long before the 2016 election and all that dynamic bullshit. Clinton describes a specific moment from years ago where they were talking, and while they covered a lot of ground, that professional courtesy about how to of the White House just wasn't there. It really highlights the shift of being a part of the same social circle and the face of becoming the face of two very different political eras. It's one of those fly on the wall moments that make you wonder about private conversations or lack thereof between a small handful of people who have actually held that office. Looking at how the relationship between the two shifted from social acquaintances to total political rivals, do you think it's actually possible to maintain a real friendship with someone who would someone once you become professional competitors, or does the business side of things always eventually poison the well? Well, I'll go to say, look at Jay-Z and Damon Dash. Look at Irv Gotti and Ja Rule. You see, you're right. You see that, right?
Mhm.
Like even you can even say like Jay-Z and Lil Wayne, who was the king of rap. Well, at first it was Jay-Z, but then it was Lil Wayne, but it was Lil Wayne first, and then it was Jay-Z. Still a conversation to be had. We only have one. And guess what? They made music together. They've done a lot of great things together. What we tend to forget is that Donald Trump used to be a Democrat. We forget
Fuck it.
that. He used to be a Democrat. Like when they was partners, he
Hmm.
was a Democrat. Which is why Clinton only fuck with your ass. Huh? But I will say that um, it's just like a job. You come in on a job and you train the hire and they become your motherfucking manager.
Ain't that crazy?
Yeah, I mean it's just a part of the corporate ladder, you know? And when people say the same people you pass going up, the same people you gonna pass going down. Bam, where you at on the ladder? So we all hanging somewhere.
That's true.
That's what I
How
got.
you feel about it, Johan?
You know, I've been looking back at the 2016 election and even the most recent one from a couple of years ago, and honestly, it's hard not to feel like something is fundamentally off. For
Hmm.
years there have been these lingering rumors about Reagan votes, but what's even more unsettling is how much we're only just now fully seeing when it comes to the president's history. Just recently, CBS News reported that the Department of Justice released FBI interviews that were actually missing from the original Epstein files. These
Of
documents
course.
reportedly detail allegations of sexual assault, and it makes you wonder why they were tucked away for so long. But when you really look at it, this isn't new information. It's just a
Hmm.
pattern that finally is being documented in a way we cannot ignore. Since the 1970s, nearly 30 women have come forward with stories that are honestly stomach turning, ranging from harassment and groping to full on assault and rape. We're talking about everything from inappropriate behavior at pageants to the $5 million settlement he was ordered to pay E. Jean Carroll back in 2023 after a jury found him
Hmm.
liable for sexual abuse. Because it's not just the actions themselves, it's the way he's historically talked about women, whether it's on social media or in interviews.
Yeah.
There's this long documented history of belittling their appearances and making comments that are just plain lewd. Because when you pile all of that up, the lawsuits, the missing files, the sheer number of accusers, it's getting really hard to wrap your head around someone with that kind of baggage, still managed to reach the highest office in the country twice. It really leaves you with that gut feeling that the full story of those victories hasn't been told yet.
Weiss is crazy because he was impeached and came right on back. Horrible, horrible. Well, if you thought The View versus Savannah Chrisley was wild, get ready for this next cat fight because the gloves and the hoop earrings were officially off and the hair was tied back. And just a heads up, if you need a refresher on that Savannah mentioned, we'll be linking that episode and the timestamp down in the show notes. This time, the sparks flew when Elizabeth Hasselbeck returned to the table and things got heated fast during a discussion about former Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Elizabeth was really leaning into her stance, even saying at one point that she believed we have a God of borders and that a nation needs them for a reason. But the mood shifted when Sunny Hostin stepped up and really held her feet to the fire. Sonny challenged her directly, asking what the deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, who were U.S. citizens, actually had to do with the border. It was a sharp moment where Sonny accused Elizabeth of being dismissive of the fact, which Elizabeth immediately denied, but the tension was already through the roof. The breaking point really came from when Sunny turned into her focus towards Chris and Noam. She didn't hold back at all, proclaiming that Secretary Noam is wholly unqualified for her job. And in a pretty stinking closing thought, she has zero empathy was one of those segments where you could practically feel the temperature in the studio rising. When a debate gets this personal, where one side is arguing about the divine borders and the other is calling out a social lack of empathy, is there really any room left for a real conversation about policy? Or has the table just become too divided to function? Yeah, I think it has. The View has very opinionated women, which I love, and some men hate, as you can see with the last elections. Um, but I don't know. I like I've never watched The View, but I know that a lot of them are a little bit controversial, mostly Whoopi Goldberg. And I think that there should be some topics that should just be kept off the docket because they don't know how to, have I hate to say it, a conversation without it really being too far off. Like you talking about her, like making a personal attack on her work ethic. That was a little below the belt. So, but women will be women.
Moving back to that argument between Elizabeth and Sunny, there was one specific moment that really rubbed me the wrong way. Elizabeth brought up the phrase "all lives matter to God," and honestly, it's wild to me that in this year we are still hearing that being used as a counterpart point. I get that on the surface it sounds like a positive sentiment, but we have to look at the context because using that generalization is problematic because it purposely shifts the focus away from the urgent specific issues of police brutality and systemic racial inequality that targets Black individuals. It's a way of ignoring what the reality of what's actually happening on the ground. Because when we say Black Lives Matter, it's not saying that only Black Lives Matter or that no one else gets killed. It's highlighting the fact that statistically, Black people are being disproportionately the victims of police brutality. And the number is back this up too.
Right.
According to NAACP back in 2019, 84% of Black adults said white people are treated better by the police, and even 63% of the white adults agreed with that. And on top of that,
Mm-hmm.
87% of Black adults feel the U.S. criminal justice system is fundamentally more unjust towards them. So when you bring up all lives in the middle of a conversation about the system, is uh, excuse me, when you bring up all lives in the middle of a conversation about those specific life and death stakes, it feels like you're trying to erase the struggle. I mean, looking at the clash between Sunny and Elizabeth, it actually took me back to that infamous moment a few seasons ago with Anna Navarro, who was a guest co-host at the time, and Megan McCain, who was the co-host at the time. I can't even remember exactly what the argument was about, probably because they were both just fighting so hard for their own claims, but I'll never forget the visual of Megan literally walking off that stage as they were cutting to commercial. And in my opinion, when you're dealing with high stake topics like immigration or racial justice or whatever the topic is, when you disagree, I feel like those situations should be handled with a level of maturity and genuine understanding. Instead of, it often feels like people just let their egos take over, and it becomes less about the actual humans involved in these stories they're discussing and more about winning the argument or getting that viral soundbite.
Yep. I agree.
Um, the way I see it, I love the view. Shout out to RIP to the great Barbara Walters. It's called The View, specifically to have a woman's point of view, but it's trying to have a collective every woman's view. Watching The View is kind of listening to I'm every woman in a conversation because she's trying to give every woman and or at least trying to address collectives. So we have Republicans, then you have conservatives, you have Democrats, independents, liberals, excuse me, lesbians, and everything else going on, right? And so I respect for us to have a healthy debate. I like that we can have a agree to disagree conversation. You see what I'm saying? Now, there needs to be discernment from how personal the issue is to you or how you may be connected to the subject. Turn off the oven and open up the door. But yeah, I love it. I'm here for it. I respect it. I mean, they didn't come to blows. They got their points across. It was a great thing.
That's true.
You know?
hmm
That's how I feel about it.
All right, well, this next story is incredibly heavy and has been weighing on the hearts of everyone in the Villa Rica community. I do hope I said it right. We are talking about 12-year-old Jada West, a student at Mason Creek Middle School who tragically passed away this past Sunday. According to reports from Fox 5 Atlanta and 11 Alive, the situation began on March 5th after Jada got off her school bus, which started as a verbal argument with another girl on the bus, allegedly escalated into a physical altercation once they were out on the street. Footage obtained of the incident show a group of children watching as the altercation took place on the ground. After the fight ended, Jada actually managed to walk away and head towards her house, but she collapsed before she could make it home. One of her friends had to run to her parents to tell them what happened. She was eventually rushed to Scottish Rite Children's Hospital and another hospital where she fell into a coma. Sadly, just a few days later, on March 8th, she succumbed to what have been described as severe brain injuries. Right now, an autopsy is being performed to determine the official cause of death and to see exactly how those injuries occurred during the confrontation. And it's just a devastating reminder of how a single moment of conflict can turn into a lifetime of grief for a family. And our hearts are definitely with Jada's family and her classmates as they try to make sense of a loss that never should have happened, as we wish them condolences. So when a school bus argument turns into a fatal street fight right after the drop-off, where does the school's responsibility end and the community's being? Should there be more adult supervision at these bus stops? Yes. Or is this issue just deeper just than just watching kids?
This one hits a little home for me because I live the suburban life and then the
Mm-mm,
hood
mm-mm,
life.
mm-mm.
So I feel like, okay, let me just explain. I'll make it quick.
Okay.
I lived in Tracy with a two-parent household. I was a very
Yikes.
bougie. I love that for
Uh-huh.
me. When
Uh-huh.
my parents divorced for the second, no, it was the third time, me and my mother came to Oakland. And when I tell you going to, what school was that? Cole on in West Oakland, it don't matter. The first day felt like a jungle. When I tell you kids, just that I wasn't used to that. I was used to structure. You like, and then you can listen to me. They picked on me. I thought, okay, it's just, they just picking on me. No, they want to beat my ass. They want to fight. And my mama did raise a punk. I didn't know how to fight, but I felt like, okay, I ain't gotta show them I'm scared. Fights these days, you don't know what they gonna do. My mom told me to grab shit. She said beat their ass. So I can only imagine what her mother told her to do. We know that popular saying, if you don't whoop their ass,
I'm gonna whoop your ass.
exactly. So I mean, it's a very touchy subject because yes, the child passed away. That is devastating. That is sad. I'm sure the person that she was fighting did not mean for that to happen. But
Ah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
that's
mm-hmm,
I would hope. I would hope when
mm-hmm,
I'm in a
mm-hmm.
fight or if I were to be in an altercation, I would hope that I don't kill them. But like I said, I wouldn't even want to get to altercation because we see that this is an actual risk. These things happen.
No, as I was listening to the story,
Hmm.
I was thinking, could the actions, energy, and adrenaline been escalated if we was going live? Were you being recorded? And I'm just asking a question. It could be speculation. What did you end up doing too much because you was live? They turned that camera on, and then you start doing shit like Lex fucking Summer up on baddies. You know?
Oh.
Did
Mm-hmm.
you turn into Jocelyn Hernandez? Did you do something that you've seen on social media and you unconsciously and subconsciously at the same time know that this shit is about to hit?
Baddies.
That's just the question that I'm asking because as a content creator, I have several videos on my page. Now they're adults, they're not minors. So
Mm-hmm.
two white girls fighting in front of the garage, and she is hitting her in the head, and it sounds like the metal bat is
Oh,
hitting the curb. It's like tink tink on her face, off her head.
yikes.
There's a video. A woman is walking in the hallway. She walked past the woman's door, and she got a miniature bat and was like on the dome, right?
Yep.
I would assume those people live because I mean, and I hope that they made it. We don't know what happened after the video, but I'm just saying, I just hope that, as I said, the energy, adrenaline, or actions were not escalated because the possibility of going viral or we were live.
Hmm. Yep.
I honestly have no words to describe the heartbreak I'm feeling as I sit with this story, because it's only been a few days since we learned about the case of Kimberly Zavaleta, and who is another 12-year-old girl who suffered a fatal brain injury after a metal water bottle was thrown at her head. Now, we're talking
Mm.
about Jada West in almost the exact same situation. You know, when I hear these stories back to back, I can't help but ask the same questions over and over. Where the fuck were the teachers? Where was the principal? Was this noticed and just completely ignored, or was it overlooked altogether? In Jada's case, the fights are right after she got off that bus. You know, as someone who looks at these ethics of these situations, I have to ask about the bus driver's role. Does that driver have a responsibility to notice an altercation brewing on the bus and stop it before the kids even step onto the pavement? I mean, according to reports, Jada's mom mentioned that she had been a victim of bullying since the very day she transferred to Mason Creek Middle School. If she was dealing with this for months, it feels like little to nothing was done to protect her. It's honestly fucking frustrating because we know the patterns. We know that when a student is new, they are often targeted, and the school system should have should have protocols in place to watch over them because Jada didn't even knew some of the students involved in the fight and that eventually took her life. She was just trying to break free and get
Mhm.
at home. Whoever was bullying her needs to be held accountable, but so does the system that let it escalate to that point because we can't keep letting these tragedies be scot-free moments. If a bus driver or a teacher sees a red flag, they have to act because for Jada and Kimberly, later never came.
Mhm.
Gone too soon. Gone too soon.
Mhm.
Well, on to other things and switching gears up a bit. Excuse me, I'm a lousy whore. Switching gears up a bit, of Hollywood head scratcher Timothy Chalamet is catching some major heat right now over some comments he made while promoting the new Bob Dylan biopic, A Complete Unknown. In a recent interview, he basically tried to frame himself as the martyr of the film industry, suggesting that the era of grand artistic cinema is dying and being replaced by things like opera and ballet, which he seemingly implied were outdated or a niche. Oh my God. It was so pretty bold. It was such a pretty bold take, especially coming from someone who has built a career on a very artistic films he claims are disappearing. The backlash was almost instant, and nobody clapped back harder than the high culture institutions themselves. The Metropolitan Opera actually issued a legendary response to his controversial take, saying, and I quote, "Sorry, Timothy, we offered you complimentary tickets to our latest show, but it was selling out. There are seats to the left. There are seats left to purchase if you hurry." It was the ultimate read, basically reminding him that while he is worried about cinema, the performing arts are doing just fine and does not need his pity. It's definitely fueled the conversation about whether younger stars are losing touch with history of the arts that claim are the best. So, Bubblers, let me ask you something. Do you think he's genuinely trying to save cinema or has spent so much time in Hollywood bubble that he's forgotten opera, ballet, and the theater, and that they are very much alive, well, and thriving?
I
I would
have.
like to
Oh,
go.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Matthew.
Go ahead.
I would like to say, as an aspiring artist myself, I don't study one thing, I study all things, new things, classic things, traditional things, trailblazing things. Watching people like Richard Pryor, who is a comedian that they made an actor, and studying someone like Taraji P. Henson, who studied acting and theater, but who is just genuinely funny. You know, studying someone's manners, characteristics, posture. You know, you can pick up a lot, you can learn a lot of things from a lot of people. They don't necessarily have to be, I don't want to say like seasoned, skilled, or veterans, but you have to think it all started somewhere before there was, I'm going to go backwards in this timeline. Before there was Chris Brown, there was an Usher. And before there was an Usher, there was a Prince, and before Prince, there was a Michael Jackson, and
I was
before
gonna
Michael
say that.
Jackson, there was a Sammy Davis Jr., and before, and and James Brown, and so on and so forth. Too. Then we go back to the white people, to Frank Sinatra, and and all these things. So it's like,
Elvis Presley.
yes, it starts somewhere, and someone took something from somebody and made it their own. So, now now that would like me saying Richard Pryor was never fucking funny, and I want to be like no shade. What's that guy name? Drewski,
Mhm.
right? That's two different forms of comedy.
Yeah.
And I would be wrong to dismiss one and give one better accolades versus the other because I'm like right in the middle. So yeah.
There's comedy, there's skits, there's other types of,
Yes, yes.
you
Like there,
don't
there are
just,
comical people, comical characters. There's comedy,
yes.
and then there are people that can make you laugh. Those are all different three characters, and you
Yeah,
can't take one thing from the other.
that
And I
part.
have to say,
Excuse me.
look, I'm looking at this from a theater kid's perspective. I actually get where Timothy is coming from on one level. I wouldn't want to do ballet or opera either, because those are two of the most grueling art forms out here. there. Ballet requires an insane amount of physical technique and discipline, and opera is a whole different beast with the breath control and mouth work required to project like that. It's not just something you can pick up for a role. But here's what where he really stepped in and where the controversy actually lives is when he claimed that nobody cares about ballet or opera anymore. That's where it gets a little messy because just because something isn't for everyone doesn't mean it's dead. There are
Exactly.
massive dedicated communities that live and breathe those art forms. And I'm not a ballerina and I'm definitely not an opera singer. So I'm not here to tell those people from either communities how they should feel, but I can see why they feel offended because it's a reminder that there's a time to share your personal taste, and then there's a time where you share an opinion that's basically a generalization of an entire culture. And when you do the latter, you have to be ready for the backlash and the call outs. And honestly, sometimes being called out is just an opportunity to educate yourself on the things you might have overlooked. Because if you're going to act like a mate here for the arts, you should probably respect all of them, not just the ones that show up on a movie screen.
I agree. All right. This next story is a heavy one, but it's a conversation that really needs to happen. Demi Lovato and Kiki Palmer recently sat down for an incredibly raw discussion on Demi's documentary, Child Star, where they opened up about the inappropriate relationships they had with adult men while they were still teenagers in this industry. Demi shared that she felt like she was being groomed. And at that time, she didn't realize how wrong it was because it was normalized in that environment. What's really striking about this article is how they describe the blurring of lines between a professional worker and being a child. They talked about how adults in the industry would often treat them like peers or romantic interests instead of protecting them. It's a heartbreaking look at the cost of fame and a reminder that being the glitz of being a Disney or Nickelodeon star, there were often situations that were incredibly damaging. When we see so many former child stars coming forward with nearly identical stories of being taken advantage of by adults, do you guys think that the industry is actually capable of changing? Or is this kind of a power imbalance just baked into the DNA of Hollywood fame?
Looking at this from the lens of an entertainment expert and someone who has spent a lot of time digging into the dark side of those child actor star factories, watching Demi's documentary was a real wake-up call. It gives you such a raw grasp of how these kids are treated. Because when you hear Demi talk about dating a boyfriend who was literally twice her age while she was still a teenager, it makes your stomach turn. And from an ethical standpoint, these dynamics often feel forced, whether that pressure is coming
Mhm.
from the industry culture itself or the environment on set. And a perfect and honestly mind-blowing example of this is that Carly episode, I Date a Bad Boy. And I kid you guys not. The actors playing the boyfriend, Drew Roy was 22 years old at the time, while Miranda was only 15 or 16. That's a 6 or 7 year age gap during the period where she was still legally a minor and he was a full grown man. Because when you rewatch those scenes today, the intimacy they were asked to perform, specifically on kissing, feels completely off. It's unsettling because you realize that these weren't just characters, these were real people in a workplace. And in my opinion, I feel like this is a massive failure of leadership among the sets, as I do believe that the staff and the showrunners could have, would have, and absolutely should have opened up a of communication, but with both Miranda and Drew about the comfortability of that intimacy. Instead, it feels like it was just another day at the office for the adults in charge. And while the teenagers involved were left to navigate in adult situations they weren't ready for, it's like a pattern we see across Disney and Nickelodeon, and it's high time we acknowledge that the show must go on. It's never an excuse for compromising a child's safety or comfort. So yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah, Demi Lovato had this song called 29 where she basically is like saying in the song, I'm the age now where I'm your age. And she's talking to her, her abuser, because she dated, I think it's Wilmer Valderrama, some guy. He was a child actor. And their relationship was kept under wraps, obviously, because she was a minor. And to hear that they went through this is not surprising because we had the whole Nick at Night, Quiet on Set, documentary about, them saying horrible things about Rob Schneider. And it's like the Disney girls have a rep. They're not all, sunshine and rainbows. Half of them are strung out and doing things that they had no business doing while promoting a promise ring. So it's one of those things where, if I made the money, I'm not saying you have to treat me like an adult. I still deserve to be protected, but they're at a different pedestal than we are. So I can't say what I would do in a situation because I'm not in a situation. But all around, children need to be protected. That's the
Mm,
bottom line.
yeah, I feel you.
So let's go down the timeline. Justin Timberlake. I just graduated from the Mickey Mouse Club.
Britney Spears just graduated from the Mickey
Hmm.
Mouse Club.
He was dating Fergie.
Oh,
Fergie was in her damn 30s with that little boy. Um, Foxy Brown, Rihanna, and or Beyonce. When the marketing man, I'm talking about marketing, they want you to be desirable, attractive, and somewhat tangible. So starting a storyline, allegedly, or if it be true, in fact, that she could possibly be sleeping with Jay-Z. Are they dating? Why could they be dating? Well, really, she's a powerhouse. She's talented. She's beautiful. She's young. We're going to just leave that name, that age, that number blank. She's young. Every day you get older. We're getting older by the second, you know? So it's like, I think in the marketing, the promoting of it all, especially with women, they're always tied to men somehow. Somehow, way, some way. You can't work with a woman. A woman can be great and be respected and on her way up unless, oh, is she spreading wine and laying in love with that guy? You know,
mhm.
Johnson Hernandez is grown now. But if we go back, no, she wasn't 18, but mentally she was, you know? So Demi, Kiki, and look at them, they're young divas. There's an air about you. You're in this upper echelon of social caliber. It's a mess. It's a mess. And then they go
It
off and fuck
is.
young fuck boys and, you know, have babies with niggas they age and still find out. And it don't matter what age they is. They have them, ain't no good anyway. Except me, I'm the best.
Well, since it's Women's History Month, we have to take a second to shine a massive spotlight on a woman who didn't just break the glass ceiling, she basically shattered it with a sledgehammer. Barbara Walters.
Barbara's career is like a masterclass in persistence. She started as a Today girl in the 60s, a role that was basically meant for looking pretty and making small talk. But she refused to stay in that box. She fought her way up to become the first female co-host of the Today Show and eventually the first female anchor of the network evening news program. In her late 60s, when most people are looking toward retirement, she created The View. She wanted a place where women's voices and different opinions were the main event, not just a side segment. She interviewed every sitting U.S. president from Nixon to Obama, and her get with Monica Lewinsky in 1999 still holds the record for one of the most watched news interviews ever with 74 million viewers.
Welcome back, and I hope you enjoyed that quick break. maybe got some festive green snack, whether to eat. That's the devil. That is the devil.
So I didn't even laugh. I didn't even laugh. Are you okay?
No,
Are you okay? You
I'm
didn't
fine.
die.
I'm
Okay, good, good, good.
fine. Welcome back, and I hope you enjoyed that quick break. Maybe you got you some green and festive to snack on, smoke on, and nibble on, toke on, because it's time for one of your favorite segments. This is the throwback topic. Now, before we go into the throwback topic, it is about who we're talking about. It is our intelligently adjacent TI. Mr. What his name? What's his name? What's his last name? I know it's Harris, but what's his first name? Calvin? Jane
Clifford.
Curtis.
No, it's Clifford. Clifford.
Clifford.
It's Clifford, ain't it?
Clifford.
It gotta be Clifford.
It's
It's Clifford. It's Clifford.
Yes, Clifford. Now, Clifford's wife recently has been, under a militia of ridicule. From Curtis. Curtis, them two quotas.
50 Cent.
The 50 cent, 100 pesos. We're gonna call them 100 pesos today. So 100 pesos had got at Tiny Tamika Harris, Grammy nominated historically female vocal group Escape, celebrated songwriter of what's
No
that?
scrubs.
Bills, and Scrubs,
Mm-hmm.
right? A wonderful vocalist. She is a great mentor, a mother, TV reality show star. A lot of great things go to her accolade. And 50 Cent came for her. Oh, he came for her. He came for her. I seen he came for her today, baby. She was looking like Smokey Robinson. Oh, she's a get.
I hear you
baby,
smoking is
baby,
diabolical.
they gave her that soul glow fro. Let it loose. And,
Look,
and
50
speaking of
Cent's
letting it,
defense.
mm-hmm.
At 50 Cent's defense, there are thousands of bad pictures of Tiny. There are millions of there. Now, I will say, Tiny can do a good face tune. When Tiny posts a picture, she look good. She looks great, like she should. Now, I've seen Escape, and sometimes the angles don't be,
Be
fits,
off.
and that is okay. But and strike me down for saying this. I'm not going to talk bad about a black woman, but we can all admit that Tiny ain't what Tiny was back in the day. We can say that, right? Everybody changes. Everybody does. But she definitely changed her eye color, which she shouldn't have done. I don't know if she's gotten work done.
We know she
I
got
don't
work
think
done.
she's
It
gotten
all
work done.
started on that ass. It all started with the skirt flip up.
It's like, and then you move down to
Her
the
ass
body.
and
It's
her
like you
thighs don't
shape
match.
the bug's
Her
life,
ass and her
amen.
thighs don't match her injections. If you
No,
catch them too soon,
no,
she don't look right. And
it
things
don't look
like that.
good.
Okay, but we passed that because
Blast it.
everything 50 Cent put up after the first video has been edited. The first thing that he put up was not edited. That's
No.
the eyes and the thighs did the ass and the thighs didn't match. Now,
Mm-hmm.
L sense. When I say L, I mean ERR. L sense. That happened.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to all the Harris cheering, starting with Isis first. Precious little baby.
Okay.
Don't miss my mama. Don't miss my mama. And
She
then
did that.
mhm. And then what's his name? Damani?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the J. Cole one? Sound like J. Cole?
Yep, that's the one. Yep,
And then
the
who's
money.
the other one? You got shot 9 times. I'ma make it
King.
10.
King. That's King.
Baby, listen.
He loved his
He
mama.
said ain't did nothing but gave a platform for them to catapult their musical magistry.
Which is garbage, may I add.
I had tears in my eyes listening to those young men's music.
I'm laughing so hard.
No, like I
Oh,
was touched because
oh, it's,
I was like, no, because so in all the hoopla and the going back and forth on Twitter and social media, Tiny
mm-hmm.
had said, yeah, you over here hating on me, and I'm over here working on something like a Jackson 5. I'm building something like the Jackson 5's empire.
Yep.
Sonique was an OMG girl,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? King is not the one that made that song. He's not. He did. That's not him. You know,
No.
I got 5 kids. He got that girl that ain't with Tiny. He got the two
Mm,
boys that ain't with Tiny, and then the
yeah.
3 kids with Tiny.
Well, and then Tiny has a daughter that's not
So
his.
it's Zanique, but he has it's the two older boys. It's
Yeah,
not
and then
King
yeah,
at
so he has a
all.
total of 3 kids
It's the
without
two
Tiny and
older
3 kids
boys.
with.
Yes, one of them his
Hmm.
name is Damani. I don't know. Oh, Messiah.
Yeah,
Messiah. That's his name.
Damani
That's
Messiah.
his name. So like I said, the 50 Cent bent over and graciously let them open up their stages on his back. And then to top it off, T.I. ass went on ahead and did a song too.
Yeah, song actually slapped. I did like that. He had the family at the dinner table. That was, I'll give him his tens. But did you see the new update, friend? Did you see the new update? King was not done. He has a line of marijuana pre-wraps with 50 Cent's very own mother printed out. He calls them the Jackson Jetpack. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When I saw that, I wanted to throw in the towel for 50. I felt like, okay, because if 50 has not responded to
Baby, you
this.
might as well ash the pre-roll, baby. How about that?
When I saw that, I was like, 50 Cent has to respond now. He has to. He absolutely has to.
Mm, 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 mm.
Yeah, after this, go check that out. Yeah.
Okay. Well, now let's get back to the throwback. We had segued onto that because the throwback
Yeah.
involves T.I. Now, today's throwback topic. This is where we take a trip down memory lane and look at a pop culture moment that shaped the world long before the bubble chat was even a thought. Since today is March 10th, yeah, I had to dig into the archives to see what was going down on this day in history. And let me tell you, the 80s and the 2010s were really doing the most. And this is what the fuck was going down. Tisha, let us know what was going on.
All right. So for today's throwback topic, we're heading back to September 2015, which was a pretty rough month for anyone who had Fancy on repeat. That was me, y'all. This was the moment when the mentorship between T.I. and GGY, Iggy Azalea, officially hit rest stop. T.I. went on Ebro in the morning and basically announced to the world that he was severing professional ties with GGY, leaving everyone, including Iggy herself, completely shocked. The wildest part about this was how it went down. Iggy actually took to Twitter, now X, to say she was blindsided by the interview. She claimed that she was the first she heard from having an issue, especially since Tip was still collecting publishing checks from her. T.I reasoning at the time was that he had spent so much energy blocking bullets for her during her various Twitter feuds, specifically the ones with Azalea Banks and Q-Tip, and he felt like her team just didn't know when to stop talking about things and how to let things blow over. When a mentor publicly dropped their protege on a radio show instead of in a private meeting, do you think they actually tried to protect their own brand, or is it just a messy way to get that one last bit of relevance off the person they're leaving behind?
Rappers are like strippers, and all
Oh,
strippers have a gimmick. Let me break it
yeah,
down. Let me break it down.
I'm listening.
Um, Plies was the nasty country Casanova. And then Rick
Yep.
Ross was Miami's new modern fat guy swag, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
but LL Cool J
Oh,
was
he
the
was that.
first Romeo of rap, right?
Mm-hmm,
Okay,
mm-hmm.
right? Okay. Then you have uh Jeezy, and then you have Gucci Man,
Okay.
even Jay-Z. They started off as drug dealers.
Who's
They're drug
slanging that?
dealers. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Trick Daddy,
What'd he do?
Lil Boosie, and
Mm-hmm.
Webby. Very, very foul mouthed shit talking, disrespectful young men.
All that
Right?
shit was bleeped out.
Then you have Tupac and Nas. These are conscious rappers. Then you have Lauryn Hill. She's not just a rapper. She's all of these things. She
You
can
can
rap,
sing
sing, write, everything
poetry.
clean, right? Then you
Mm,
have the Brat, like I'm a kid. But then you have Bow Wow. You see, these are gimmicks. These are gimmicks.
yes.
These are
Mm-hmm.
gimmicks, right? And then now they're all lyricists. Let me say, everyone that I named was a lyricist,
Yes, they was.
right? Okay. Then we came. Okay. Then the girl rap came out. So it can be highly debated that Big wrote Little Kim's first album, and she'll never rap like that and never come like that again. Correct?
No, never.
And then we can say Trina's last album that didn't sell was like her best piece of work that didn't really go nowhere, right?
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
whether they had women, people helped them, Trina was not a rapper. She was kind of morphed, kind of turned, kind of cultured, kind of, curated into it, such as Iggy. Iggy was a motherfucking model.
Yeah, she was
Iggy is
Australian.
fucking European. Pause. The
Mm-hmm.
bitch ain't even American. Right?
Gigi
And I'm
White.
not hating on her culture or where she's really from, but you just pick this chick. You pick the image, and then you put her in a booth and said, "Say this." And then when she choked and fucked up live at the award show,
Mm.
that's when you let her go.
What? Gigi White.
I mean, I have to be honest. I feel like when I first heard it, this whole situation just felt like it came completely out of the blue. Because when you look at where Ti and Iggy were just a year prior, it's hard to make the math work on how they ended up here. They weren't just label mates; they were a genuine hit making duo. You had "Change Your Life," which was such a massive moment for her debut album,
Mediocre.
and then "No Mediocre," where she
Mediocre was
literally
it's
hopped
still
on
slack.
her track to give it that extra grand hustle stamp of approval because they seemed like they were in total sync, dominating the charts and proving that the mentorship was actually paying off. And that's why this split feels a little too jarring to go from standing side by side on successful tracks to one person announcing a rest stop on the radio while the others claims their blind side is just messy. And from my perspective, when you have that kind of momentum and multiple successful collaborations, you expect any issues to be handled behind closed doors, not on Hot 97. It really makes you wonder if there was a specific straw that broke the camel's back, or if the pressure of the constant public backlash against Iggy just became too much for Tip to keep blocking bullets for.
It was definitely Petty.
Yes, I
Patty.
love Iggy. Iggy has a nice solid body of work from Black Widow to the song she did with I got
Ariana Grande?
nine problems and a bitch ain't want Ariana Grande. She got
Like the one
yes.
Sally Walker. She slid on Sally Walker
She
too. I
got that
said,
song with Rita Ora. I think that's
yep.
Black Widow.
Uh-huh.
She did that
She
song
got a
with
few.
Britney Spears, all around the world, pretty girl. Like Iggy she got like hits. She was
She
really
got a
not,
flow.
they curated her accordingly.
And she even had a track with Tyga.
Yes, Cream. Ooh,
Mhm.
yes, and
Tiger.
she had a song with Cash Doll.
That one did
All,
slap.
all,
Look at
all
this.
Open up to say
it,
bitches
you
put
have
have to
Look,
say.
look.
this
While
shit,
you
just
niggas
look at
out
it.
here, let me tell you, give a
So,
shout out to the concert people because we know that Tony Braxton, New Edition, and Boyz II Men are on tour.
yes.
We know that Cardi B on To the Face is on tour.
Boo,
Now
tomato, tomato.
there is another lineup coming out. It is Marsha Ambrosia. No, it's Floetry, actually. It's
Oh,
Floetry, it's Raheem Devon, and Layla Hathaway. It's a great lineup. And then I know that Y2K, it's going to be B2K, no white fish on the road. No white fish on the road. It's B2K, it's Bow Wow, it's Pretty Ricky, it's and A Marie is there. While y'all doing all that shit, y'all need, let me tell you, y'all need to put on tour. Y'all need to put Iggy. Okay, I'm gonna give you Iggy because she's an appetizer. Give me Iggy. Give me Tiger. They got hits. Like hits after hits after hits. I can't, you know what I'm saying? So give me Iggy. Give me Tiger. I need another somebody. I will say, okay, you could put Jeezy on it. Put Jeezy on it. Give me Iggy, Tiger, Jeezy, and I'll put Saweetie down. I'll put Saweetie down on it. I'll put Sweetie
Jennifer
down.
Lopez.
Quit playing, nephew. And maybe Tink, but yeah, go put Iggy on the road. Iggy, come on, you got his Iggy and Tiger for sure. And then they have songs together, but Iggy and Tiger for sure. And I think you could throw Jeezy on there, Jeezy, because he just dropped a song with somebody. Yeah, throw Jeezy on it. Throw Jeezy on it. Maybe let Trina be the headliner. Ooh.
and just like that, and just like that, another episode of the Bubble Chat is in the books. We can't thank you enough for hanging out with us today and letting us share some of these thoughts with you. There is something so special about this community we
Mm,
built,
mm.
and we never take it for granted. We never take it for granted. Stop it. We
Mm.
covered a lot of ground today,
We
and
did.
honestly, the best part of the show is the conversations that we have after the mic turns off. What
Oh,
do you think we discussed today? I mean, what do you
wait
think
till
about
the
what we
mic
discussed
turns
today?
off.
Don't forget to check the show notes for all the links and timestamps we mentioned earlier, especially if you need that refresher on the drama we touched on.
Mhm.
I'll be back soon with more deep dives and honest conversations. So make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a beat. We've
Mhm.
got so much more in store for you, and I can't wait to share it with y'all.
Uh-uh.
Stay safe, stay lucky, and most importantly, stay true to yourself. You've been listening to The Bubble Chat, and we will
Yeah.
catch you on the next one. Happy
Good
St.
night.
Patrick's Day and my birthday.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
Love
birthday!
Your
y'all.
Bye,
birthday today?
everyone.
No, the day before March, St. Patrick's Day.
Okay, the 16th. There we go.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. Good night,
I didn't mean
everyone.
to cut you off like that.
Good night.